All right, welcome everyone to my Friday live. Today's guest is having a little bit of technical problems, so we're gonna make sure that he is able to get in. He's got an internet outage in his area, and so he's trying to connect through his phone. So it might just be a little tricky, but before he's able to hop on, though, I want to introduce him because I've been a fan of this channel. It is a really great channel, and you should definitely check it out. So I've actually got a little clip queued up that I'm going to pull up here, so you can see what kind of content my guest today, Blake, is doing. So let me just show you a little bit. Hopefully. Yeah. So not sure if you were able to hear that. I forget if I was able to pull that audio into it, but that's the kind of content that Blake makes. He has this great robot friend and has really fun and entertaining videos. So I've got his channel linked in the description of this video. So hopefully he will be able to join us really soon. Anyway, so his name is Blake. His little friend, too, I think is called Kevin. I will have to ask him if that's a little throwback to, well, I mean, Saved by the Bell. The robot in Saved by the Bell was Kevin, Screech's robot. So, um, I think it was Kevin. I might be wrong on that. But anyway, today we're talking about Android and iOS. And we're going to give tips for both platforms. So he does a really good job of making sure he gives tips for Android devices and for Apple devices. So that is kind of his. That's kind of where he focuses a bit, but he does venture out into other tech um, areas here. While we're waiting for him, I'll actually just kind of pull up his whole stream here, and you can see he's got all sorts of different videos. So how to install screen protectors, because that's a huge one. A lot of people have a problem with that. He does have a lot of Apple content, so we will definitely talk about that. But I saw some videos with Kindle, how to install the Google Play Store on your Kindle and things like that. So he's got a really broad range of videos and really fun. And I can't wait to talk to him. But let's see if he is able to join us. Yeah. Oh, here he is.
Can you hear me now at all?
There he is.
Oh,
Yes, I do hear you.
wonderful. Sorry about that. It's been a hectic day.
It's all good. I understand. When I lose internet, it's like I don't know what to do with myself.
I woke up this morning and the entire country, we're all on this main provider and the entire country is down right now. So banks are down, their stores are down. Like everyone using this provider is just completely messed up. So it's been a wild morning trying to figure this out. So I'm here now. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I'm happy to be here. Excited.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Was just kind of introducing you and your channel, but if you want to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and let us know about your channel.
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Blake. I run a channel called Time for Tech. My channel now is about a little over a year old. So it more or less was. It started off as more of a project. I've always been a person who's kind of dealt with anxiety and confidence issues over the years, and wanted something that would challenge me and help me break outside of that. And then during the COVID season, that was kind of heightened, and this kind of birthed from there. So I've always been a person too that's never really had that one true passion, but this tech has always been something that I've enjoyed. So it was just a natural transition. A lot of what I watch on YouTube is tech and that sort of thing. So started my channel and thought I started very serious, and I thought I need to have more fun with this. So a lot of my content is pretty goofy.
Yeah.
I know you showed a
Which
clip
I
there.
really
You might have
like.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's now it's I enjoy smartphones. It's kind of been around that area. So these days I do my best to help. I've always been the tech guru in my family. I help my friends, family, that sort of thing. So just natural transition there. So if not, I get to answer questions through video. I send to them like, you deal with it, you figure it out. But that's kind of the heart of the channel. Is I really want to help people who love tech but don't really know fully what they're getting themselves into, get the most out of it, get longevity out of it. Who cares about specs? Let's just tell you if it's good or not, that sort of thing. So yeah.
Do you have like an animation background or anything? Because I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
love
yeah.
your little robot friend, so that's
Yeah, so yeah, so Kevin's my my robot. I am right now I'm experimenting outside of Kevin just a little bit to see just how the audience reacts. But I went to school for animation actually for 3 years. Yeah, so I do have experience in that. The software that I use is called Character Animator. It's Adobe. So it actually does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. So I developed the character myself, but it uses motion tracking through my webcam to kind of help with any of the movements, as well as it does do its best to try to map the mouthing shapes to what I'm saying. But luckily, with my background, I can kind of tweak. It's not perfect, but it does help me get the animation done quickly. So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and I have to invite people on for somebody to interact with. So you've got a naturally built in
yeah.
somebody to interact with. So that's really fun. I was saying that Screech's robot friend in Saved by the Bell was named Kevin. Is that any
Oh,
basis
really?
for your robot friend's name or
No, no.
anything?
Actually, I didn't know that. It just it's a running joke with my friends. We always I don't know, name stuff Kevin. We had nicknames for people. We just call him Kevin. It was just like I just needed a name. I'm like I just want something silly. It was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like everyone asks why. I'm like there's no real reason. Otherwise, it makes you ask why, and it sounds funny. But that's just the reason for it. So
Oh, awesome. Now you're gonna have to go back and watch some Saved by the Bell
yeah,
episodes.
absolutely, yeah.
It's definitely like in the earlier seasons. So
Okay.
like, go season 1 or season 2. I'm a big Saved by the Bell buff, I've
Ah,
got it all
right. Okay.
down.
Yeah. I used to
So
watch it. It's been a long time, but yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm like that's my genre or my you know, like my childhood. So
Right. Right.
I'm a child of the early 90s, 80s. Um well, awesome. Thank you for that. So I've got some questions that I kind of sent you ahead of time, but if you've got anything you want to, go off of on that too, definitely feel free.
For sure.
So the first question I've got is what is your favorite setting on Android and on iOS that most people don't know about?
Yeah. So there's one that actually, it's funny. My friend told me the other day she just found out about this setting on her iPhone. She had no idea about it, and I already knew about it. But actually, on the back of your iPhone, I think anything iOS 10 or newer, you can tap the back of your iPhone, and you can set it up to open certain apps, do certain things, screenshots, that sort of thing. So I have it set right now for I double tap, and I like using Google Assistant more than Siri. So I'll double tap that, and Google
Ah,
Assistant pop up.
you're so smart.
Yeah, I figured you like that. Yeah, so and then I triple tap as well, and I'll pull up like a QR code for my Wi-Fi to help friends kind of jump on quickly as well too. So I have that built through the shortcuts and then mapped to this. So that also helps there. And then yeah, so you can do so much with that. You can take screenshots with it as well. It's a fun feature. People don't really realize that's there. And I
Yeah.
didn't know. I kind of found it. I think browsing YouTube one day actually. So and on Android, I knew how to be a really you can access the developer options on Android as well. It's kind of hidden, but it gives you a lot more control over what's happening on your phone. So, and we'll get into this later about battery saving, but you can actually adjust the animations of in and out of apps with that as well too to speed it up, slow it down. That just kind of helps the load of what's happening on your device, and you can actually even force dark mode on everything, even apps that don't support it. So it's always a bit glitchy. I did it on my work phone actually, and there are icons that are naturally black that I can't see, so I have to go back. But it's a fun that way. And then I like displaying sometimes even the GPU and the CPU usage. Sometimes it'll show you that as well too, and you can monitor how your phone's doing as well. But that's just kind of those are some of the hitting settings that people don't really realize, but they are there. Yeah.
Yeah, so you broke up a little bit, but from context,
Oh,
I understood what you were saying, but developer mode, right? Is that
yes,
what you were
developer.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Um, awesome. Yeah. I love both of those features. So, I do have like, so I get on iPhone's case a lot, but I do have an iPhone.
great.
Um, but I definitely don't use this as my daily driver. But so
Okay.
speaking of, I'm gonna skip ahead for just a second.
hmm
And which one is your primary phone, and why did you choose that platform? 'Cause
This
I
is
think
where
I
you
already
might
know the
dislike me a little
answer.
bit.
I know.
Yeah,
No, I already knew the answer before
yeah.
I invited you on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I am an iPhone user. And there are reasons for it. So my first smartphone experience was actually the iPhone 3GS. So that was my first experience outside. I think before that I had like I think it was called an LG Rumor. So very you just slide out and keyboard and stuff on that.
Right.
So iPhone's just what I knew when I started. I did switch to a Samsung Galaxy S3 when that first came out. That was my
Sure.
first experience with an Android, and that was
Mhm.
a terrible experience. I just found it was a lot slower. Things just kept crashing on me, and that was the early days of Android. I will say
Right.
now things are a
Obviously.
lot better.
Yeah.
So the Switch has always been difficult to kind of go back to. Um, and I have naturally a lot of Apple products over the years. Now I am like right now I'm on my gaming PC, but I do use both. I am slowly kind of leaving somewhat the Apple ecosystem a little bit, but that's what kind of held me in there. Is things just kind of work so well together, that
It's true.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. It was easy. A lot of my friends, Apple users, so when it came to iMessage, a lot easier. A lot of international
Right.
friends, a lot easier to contact that way. There are other apps like WhatsApp you can use and such, but I
Yeah.
just found getting people to kind of jump on those kind of wagons is always more difficult.
Yeah.
Mind you,
True.
I will say I have a OnePlus 7 Pro here that I use for all my filming. Actually, all my videos are filmed on this.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, so I do enjoy this phone more. I think at the same time I had found this for a good price. I'd also got my Apple Watch at the same time. I'm at the point now. I know Google's trying to work on a Pixel Watch. So once
Mhm.
that's released, that might turn me over completely to try experimenting outside of Apple because it's not that I'm against
Yeah,
Android these days. There's lots of great phones.
for
I
sure.
have no issues with this one. Just Apple has kind of served me well over the years. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I'm not the kind of person who like, I do make fun of Apple people for
yeah,
sure. But honestly, like there have been times where I have recommended an iPhone to people because
right,
I'm like, okay, well, for your needs, I would recommend an iPhone.
yeah,
Like, it's about the technology. It's
yeah,
not good, like it's not right for me, but it could be right for you, and that's totally fine. Um, I just don't like people who are just like, well, I just got it because it's better. I'm like,
no, yeah.
well, how do you
There's
know
different
it's
meanings to
better?
that. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. So, like, it might be better for you, and that's
Mhm.
totally fine. But, like, I just would rather people do the research and, like, figure out which platform would actually be better for them. And
Absolutely.
then, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, my brother in law is an example. He like, told me his needs. And I was like, well, an iPhone is probably good for you. But,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so I don't hate on everybody. I just want them to like be informed. That's
Yeah,
that's my
absolutely. I
whole
think
thing.
people aren't
Be informed.
aware. I think most people just want their phone to just work out of the gate. It depends on what
Right.
you want your phone to do. If you want
Yeah.
more customization, that sort of thing, Android's going to be your better bet. Apple has
Yeah.
made it somewhat steps towards it, but it's not great.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Android, there's a lot more, and even just apps wise, like there's way more apps for Android, especially free ones that you can get that you just can't get an iPhone. So that's the advantage there.
For
So it's
sure.
all depending on what you're looking for, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
No, totally agree. So we know that you love an iPhone. What is your favorite most used apps on your phone?
Yeah. So just outside of social media, which is mostly, I'd say most of my apps that I use on my iPhone, which is the daily one. Yeah. Um, recently, one I tell everyone to get now. I'd say like maybe a couple months ago, I got hacked. My Instagram got hacked into. Yeah.
Oh no.
So it taught me a lot about password security and
Yeah.
two-factor authentication. So I got it back.
I
I was
do preach
relentless.
that. I do
Yeah.
preach that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Two-factor
I think
authentication on everything.
I think I got lazy with it after a while, but I was relentless, got it back. But now I use Google Authenticator as my for all my passwords, so that'll just
Yeah.
generate every 30 seconds to a minute a new code that will
Yeah.
allow me to log in. So a lot safer, a lot more confident now with that.
Yeah, for sure.
When it comes to, actually a lot of my family, so I use iPhone. My whole family uses Android.
Oh,
So when it
fun.
comes to like keeping tabs on each other, we use an app called Life 360. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can track them and see where they're going. I get notifications if they come to my house. It's a nice way to keep people safe. So a friend of mine started using it. They had a family member pass in a car accident a couple years ago. So they use that to kind of make sure they can keep an eye on each other. So um, they started using that. Another one, LastPass. So now that I've started using long
Yeah.
passwords,
And
like,
more secure passwords,
yeah,
different passwords for
yes,
every platform.
yes,
Good. You're
yes,
doing all the good things.
yes. I've
Yeah.
definitely made a huge change. Got a VPN, everything. Like I like freaked out.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I
But
imagine.
LastPass is huge. So that's
Yeah.
everything password wise, I'll store on there. And the nice thing is it really helps you. Like I like anything cross platform, Android and iPhone. I don't like apps that
Let's
are
do it.
just single use only.
Yeah.
So I can use it on every platform that I do use. And it just helps me quickly log into stuff, make sure my passwords are secure and I know what they are, because now that everything's different, you will forget which passcode is for which.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that's probably the ones that I use the most too. And then I play guitar as well. So I have one that I use every day called Guitar
Okay.
Tuna. So I used to carry the little
Oh,
guitar tuner with
interesting.
me all the time, but that
Yeah.
one's meant to have my iPhone for sure. So,
Oh, I'll have to check that one out. My husband plays guitar. I do not, but
oh, right.
I am not musical
Oh,
whatsoever.
really?
Yeah, but he's a musician. Like, so he plays bass
Right. Okay.
and loves music and everything, and I can't even like hear music really. Like I can hear the song, but I can't pick out like parts of it. You
Right.
know, like I'm definitely tone deaf, like for sure. Tone deaf. Like if you've ever heard me try and sing, it is not a good look. Um,
I'm sure you're being
you
hard
know,
on yourself, but
oh no. Like we'll be sitting there like singing at church or something, and my husband will be like, "Those are the notes you think they are they?"
yeah,
Okay,
actually, so I
just
use
making
mine for
sure.
my church as well. So I use that's what I use guitar app most of the time for that. So and there's another app I use for church
Yeah.
called On Song, which we also use to kind of have all my song lists into. But yeah, see, everyone's heard you sing.
Yeah. That's actually my sister. So
Oh, is it?
yeah.
Awesome.
So she actually has heard me sing and she's just as bad. So I'm going to throw her under the bus. She sounds just as bad as I do. So
Yeah, I got
it's
lucky. So my dad's side of the family they're all very musical. My mom's side of the family, not so much. So she can't sing a lick. My dad's
yeah.
family, instruments, singing. So I got that side, which is great. Works great for
Yeah.
church. But other than that, yeah. So
So guitar, what would you say what it was called tuna or
yeah, it's like tuna, like the fish, like guitar tuna.
that's funny. That's
Yeah,
cool. I'm going to have to check that one out.
yeah.
Awesome. Those are all great apps. I love LastPass as well. That's where I store. And I love that you said that it's you know, operating system agnostic
Mhm.
because, if you're trying to store everything in your Google account or if you're storing everything in your iCloud account, that's going to be difficult if you go over to your PC and you don't have
Yeah,
access to those passwords. So,
right.
yeah, definitely something that's not that branded is an
Absolutely.
important thing to use. And yeah, and I get approached all the time for like people who want me to talk about like different apps and things. And I'm like, oh, I see that it's not available for Android. I'm not going to talk about it until it's available for both. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, so what is your favorite feature that is exclusive to one platform? So I want to hear one for iOS and one for Android.
Absolutely. I'll start with Android first because this is probably the one thing that I wish iPhone had more of, but I get it'll never happen. But
Sure.
the fact that we can use launchers on Android, I
Mhm.
love that you can make like Android, you can personalize it to be whatever you want to be. You can make it look different from every other phone. Like everyone's, where iPhone, it's like it'll always look similar.
Yeah.
There are ways to kind of get around it, but again, it's very janky and does not work well. Um,
Right.
unless you want to like completely jailbreak and hack your phone, which I don't
Right.
recommend.
Right.
You can break it that way, but with Android, it's just native. So there's
Yeah.
lots of different launchers, which is just like a theme pack you can download off the App Store. and then you can even tune that even more so to what you want it to be. So I did a video on my channel where I took a Samsung phone and I made it look like stock Android, so a pixel completely.
Oh, sure.
So a lot of people just, I find that's the one downfall with, I mean, everyone, Android is because it's used by so many carriers and so many different companies. They add their own bloatware, their own kind of layers
Right.
to it.
Their own skin. Yeah.
Yeah, stock Android is just very, I like the look of it. It's very simple. So I know a lot of people who are looking to like, they didn't like Android because it just looked terrible. So the
Right.
fact that you can do that and make it look however you want, there's lots. You can even make your own icon packs and upload it. Like there's so many things you can do. So that to me, that was the best feature about Android and what I enjoy the most about it. And if you
Yeah.
get bored, switch it up. You know, it's that kind of thing too. So
Right.
with iOS, and this is one reason why I find it so hard to leave. But the one feature is probably with iMessage, and
Yeah.
I did do a video as
I get
well
that.
on how to use iMessage on your Android. There are ways around it. Again, it's not the
It's
most fun
super janky.
yeah, not the most fun to set up, but
Yeah.
when it works, it's great. So that's just I think that's for anybody across the board you talk to that is kind of glued to Android to Apple. It's going to be iMessage kind of holds in that spot. Just because of
That's
the
actually
ease of use. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true for a lot of teenagers too. Like the
Hmm.
main reason teenagers want an iPhone is because of iMessage. So all of their
Yeah.
friends have iMessage and they
Yeah.
get made fun of because of the green bubbles
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they want the iMessage. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge one for Apple for sure.
For sure,
They've
yeah. I mentioned that in my video as well. That was kind of the story behind of what I was teaching there. Because I had saw some videos talking about how people were getting. I think it was around the same time people were getting bullied pretty heftily around having
it's
an
true.
Android phone over an iPhone, and just
Yeah.
hearing the stories, it's just like it's silly to think that's come to that route, but
Yeah.
it's just a nice way to like if you have the means to do it, to set it up in a way where like you can have iMessage on your Android, but I wish it wasn't the case where it was such a exclusive thing. Like, there's to me these days, and at least in my generation, like it's to someone have an Android and iPhone, like we kind of laugh at each other, but it's not like it's a big deal where it's become culturally kind of like a big deal in one way. But
Yeah, I'll find that video and I'll link it directly in the description because that I know a lot of parents would love that. I will say the caveat, which I haven't done it myself, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. You do have to have an Apple device
yeah,
somewhere in your house in order for that to work.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you can get cheaper like Mac Minis, which is like a little box. It kind of acts like a service, but it receives the message and then pings it to your phone. So that has to be running all the
Right.
time. So it's not
Yeah.
great, but it does work.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So I'll link that video in the description. So if you guys want to check out that video specifically, that that sounds great. But yeah, I totally agree with you on iMessage. That is definitely something that they've got down really well. I think it is a good platform that they've created. I wish that they would either open up RCS
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or create like they can just create an Android app that's iMessage. Like
I
if they
know.
could just do that, like
Would
a
solve
lot of these
issues.
problems would right. I mean, if people are still locked into iMessage, they'll still probably want an iPhone. You know, it but anyway,
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
absolutely.
My favorite is widgets. Like I
Mhm.
love that I can just like I'm on my phone and I can just like check off my to-do list like right
Yeah,
there. I don't have to like open anything. I can just like interact with apps like directly on the phone. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
that's my okay. So let's dig into what is your favorite phone accessory?
Yeah, so I'll get into this again a little bit later, but right now I'd say the one main thing that I like having, especially these days, is a wireless charger for my phones.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
I don't like plugging my phone in most times. It's just a lot easier to toss it on something and then not have to worry about it. Yeah, so it's they really are incredible. Again, they do have some downfalls, and I know one of the questions there I'll kind of mention it, but that's probably my must have. I have one in every room in my house. It's just a lot easier to have around. So, and they don't break as easy. Like all my charging cords after a while will just stop working. It's a lot
Right.
easier to just put on the charging pad and just have it go. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. No, that's awesome. I love wireless chargers. I would say my favorite accessory is my smartwatch. I use a
Uh,
Garmin.
yeah.
Um But obviously, if you use an iPhone, an Apple Watch is probably the best way to go. But
Yeah.
I do a lot of running and everything, and
Hmm.
so like even though I use a Samsung, I use a Garmin watch because I love the Garmin so much more.
Right. Right. No, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is, what is a mistake that you see a lot of people making on their phone?
Yeah, this is a lot of my friends too. Like when they get their phones, they do not put screen protectors on them, and
Yes.
it's a biggest peeve of mine. I'm like, it's not that hard to get one. You can get them fairly cheap now, and it's like it will save you tons of money. Like a $10 protector will save. Like one of my friends, I've replaced hers, got like 10 times. I swear. Like she just, but if she didn't have it, her phone would be ruined. Like by now for sure, right?
Yeah, like my your most recent video is about screen
Yeah,
protectors. So I was just
yeah.
looking. Um but yeah, I was actually in so I live in Utah,
Mhm.
and we were in like Zion area, like national park. So there's a lot of like rocks and everything. And I dropped my phone and it legit landed like right on a rock, like right like that. But I had a glass screen protector on.
Yeah,
It cracked the glass screen protector, but I just had to pull that off and my screen was
yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah,
So
they do wonders, and they're so much easier to put on these. Like I know when smartphones first came out, we had those plastic screen protectors to put on, and they were so hard to put on because getting the bubbles out and the
yeah,
dirt out was difficult. These
yeah,
things are so much easier to put on. Like it takes me 5 minutes as opposed to 15, 20 to put it on as those old ones were. But yeah, a lot of my
yeah,
friends just don't use them, or if they don't use a case too, like
yeah,
to me, it's like so risky. Like his phones aren't
yeah,
cheap. Like you really want to go without a
yeah.
case on there, but some of my friends' phones are just like completely ruined. So I don't know how they do it, but it just drives me nuts.
I totally agree. 'Cause and
Yeah.
that's the same thing, like, when I got my S22, the case actually came in the mail before the phone came in the mail, and I was like, "Oh, thank goodness," like, I won't have to, but if I do get a phone before, like, the case comes, I'm like
Yeah. Same thing. Same thing.
I'm like, "I can't touch it till my case is here."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. That's a great one. Um So now here's a tip that you've probably already done a video on, but if you'd like to just let us know, how can you make your battery last longer? Because I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
a
for sure.
big one everybody wants to know
Yeah,
about.
I'll just start with what I mentioned before, the wireless charging. So, as great as wireless charging is, it can be damaging to your phone, just because it does generate a lot of heat on the back of
Mm,
your phone. So,
yeah,
heat to a battery will kill its life a lot quicker.
sure.
So it's always it's as much as I don't do it, it's always recommended to plug your phone in because it keeps your phone
Yeah.
cooler. I mean,
Yeah.
wireless charging also is not super quick. It's probably one of the slowest ways to charge your phone.
Yeah.
Mind you, there are a lot of fast chargers you can buy for your phones too that plug in, but that can also that's a lot of heat being generated for your battery too, right? So,
Right.
and again, even cases as much as I love them, that traps in heat, bad for your
Oh,
phone.
sure.
So that just degrades and speeds up the process of killing your battery pretty quickly. But another one is this one's pretty common, and I'm bad for this these days. Closing apps when you're done. Sometimes
Yes.
I don't always do it.
I'm the
The reason I
worst.
don't always do it though is because sometimes having the app stay open in the background, it's quicker to load next time. So unless you're really done with it, like go ahead and close it. But having those running in the background will obviously like they're doing various things, running various processes. Like it's just gonna drain your battery faster throughout the day.
Yeah.
Um, oh, GPS and location tracking. So choose which apps specifically you want them to be on for. If you have it on for every app or apps that don't need it, um, that's just it's going to drain your battery. Your phone's going to constantly send out signals of where it is. The apps are going to look for it. Like it's not needed unless it's absolutely like maybe for your Google Maps or whatever. You'll need that, but
Sure.
I went through my phone and there were apps that was asking for it. I'm like, there's no need for you to track right. Plus, it's creepy. Like you don't need to know.
Yeah. You don't need to know. You don't know
Yeah,
me.
yeah, exactly. So that's one thing. Dark mode. Um, I love dark mode. I find it easier on my eyes. If you have any newer phones and especially the higher end phones, the type of screens they use are called OLEDs or AMOLEDs. So the advantage of having dark mode turned on is whatever's black on your phone will actually be fully black. So those pixels are turned off completely. So if I have a text message going through it's all in dark mode, all the letters that are lit up, that's the only pixels that are on the screen. Everything else is fully black. So it actually looks a lot nicer when it comes to colors and stuff on your screen too, but it just saves you battery because your phone's not trying to light up everything at once. It's just letting up what it needs to. And then even putting a dark wallpaper on your phone too will even help. Some people go to that extreme where they'll put everything possibly dark on their phone that they can to make sure that it's not working as hard as it needs to. Because the one downfall of OLED screens and such too is if you have things too bright all the time, it can create burn-in in your screen. So
Sure.
what that is if your screen's too bright all the time, like you can actually I bought a used iPhone once. Luckily it was under warranty still, but the all the icons were like burned into the screen itself. So I could be on Facebook, I could see my whole entire home screen on there just from it was burnt in from the guy who was using before had it cranked all the way up.
Wow.
So yeah, it can be damaging that way. Data is also quite a big battery drainer when you can use Wi-Fi. So if you're home on your Wi-Fi, turn your data off because it's going to be in the background. Some phones will use that to help help load stuff faster if you're trying to open Facebook and the Wi-Fi is not great, and it'll pull that in. It's just those small. And again, I'm not great at it. I'll leave it on, but it's those small things that will make a difference. Notifications. I think I do this these days out of more of annoyance because I'll have apps notify me about stuff that I don't need you to talk to me about a certain deal on Amazon right now. Like I just need to know who's texting me. But having those running in the background, it's just going to be, again, more of a battery drainer. People, it's just going to tell you things that you don't need to know. It's going to be looking for things to tell you when it doesn't need to. Like it's just extra energy for no reason. And then the last thing, and this one's more for Apple. The nice thing is they have a feature called optimized battery charging. So if that's turned on in your phone, it'll actually know. Like I'll put my phone on the charger for the night, and it won't charge past 80% until it needs to. So it doesn't want to overcharge your battery because the more you charge your phone, obviously, the worse it's going to get. It's going to die off. So this kind of helps ease the energy into your phone and won't overcharge it so that you can get longevity. And I've seen videos or articles online of people who have done a lot of these tips and various others, and their battery health have stayed in the high 90s or 100 after like a couple of years, just because they've been insanely on top of making sure the battery health stays really good, because it's not fun when your battery lasts 2 hours or you have to go get it replaced. A lot of people will upgrade their phones because the battery's not great, which you can get it replaced for a lot cheaper than buying a new phone, but it's just
for sure.
Yeah, so that sort of thing. So it's always worth trying to figure out ways to make your battery last longer. Plus, I mean, no one wants their phone to die midday. It's not fun.
Right. Yeah. I know you got to start carrying like a battery pack around with you. And and what he said, a lot of my readers, I come from blogging world, so but a lot of the viewers don't understand necessarily what you were talking about with the turning the GPS and location tracking off. And he's not talking about turning it off for the entire phone. He's talking about turning it off for specific apps. So what you would need to do is go into the settings of just the phone and then go into the app settings and look at those permissions that app has and turn it off there.
It can be a little lengthy of a process. Some like, I have to go through each app and turn off all, because I mean, immediately when we download an app, a lot of people will just allow all.
Right.
Yeah, when you get an app, just make sure you turn off what needs to be turned off. There's apps that don't need to know your data, doesn't need to know, where you are, what you're doing, that kind of thing. It's just, just be aware of that too. I think it's just privacy and safety wise too. It's just nice to have those things turned off that don't need it. So.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people, you can turn that off for your photo app too. And then that will take it out of any metadata for your photos, so that, if you share your photo with somebody, I talk about this a lot with, teenagers. If a teenager is talking to somebody they don't know, they share a photo with somebody they don't know, that person could look at the metadata of that photo and find out exactly where they live. So it's definitely a good idea to turn location off for specific apps for that reason as well.
Right. Yeah, it's because even on iPhone, I think in my Photos app, if I take a picture, it'll tell me even which lens I used on my phone, where it was
Yeah.
taken,
Oh, yeah.
that sort of thing too, right? So that they take a lot of information you don't realize. And I think I learned that pretty scarily when I was doing that video the one time. I was like, there's a
Yeah.
lot here that Apple doesn't need to have from me, so I'll just turn it off.
Yeah. There's a lot of information that a lot of apps don't need
Yeah,
to get from you. Um, we have another comment. Just she was on the river for 6 days. So powered down every night, put it on airplane mode, and closed all the apps. I think that's a. Um, I'd be curious if it lasted the whole 6 days. That is.
that'd be impressive.
It would be super impressive.
Yeah.
So you'll have to, Amy Ross Kelly, you have to let us know if it lasted all 6 days. Um, all right. So, any tips for phone addiction? And this is for like yourself and if you're, dealing with kids or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that first and foremost, like nothing's gonna work unless you're being super intentional about trying to wean yourself off of being addicted to your phone or even your kids and stuff, and then even having accountability because I can delete an app and then download it 2 days later, like, and nothing will change, right? So
Right.
those are the two biggest things you're gonna need, and it's funny because I mean, since smartphones have been around, no one's realized what it would do to our lives. And as much as I love smartphones, it can be bad. Like I do see some of my anxiety and confidence issues over the years stem from certain apps or watching certain people. Like
Sure.
I compare myself even YouTube channel wise to other people and being like, oh, why isn't like, and it's just like, it's one of those mindset shifts that we've just kind of developed from being bombarded with so much over the years. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, being intentional and having and setting realistic goals, knowing, like I wouldn't say quit cold turkey on every app if you're addicted to all these apps. Delete
Right.
one at a time. And I've done that. I think last year I
Sure.
got to a point where like I just needed to take a break from some and I deleted one for a bit, found myself not using it as much, which was great. Tried another one, that sort of thing. Just to kind of slowly take it off. Otherwise it's gonna be so difficult, you're gonna crash and you're gonna want to go back to it.
For
But
sure.
with Apple, there are some nice. I think the one nice thing now is I think these companies are realizing how much it's affecting our lives. So they're trying to put things in place to try to help us out. So you'll have
Yeah.
screen time with Apple where you can set certain limits on apps, can do restrict
Right.
apps. We have focus mode on Apple too. So one of the biggest distractions while trying to do any work is your phone going off. So you can turn on a focus mode and have it set up so that only certain apps can reach you, certain people can reach you, that sort of thing. So you can actually focus on what you're trying to do. For me, if I'm working on a YouTube video, I'll put my phone in a different room. That way it's not near
Yeah.
me. I don't want to be distracted because I will go
Right.
on it in the first 2
Right.
seconds.
Right.
Right?
Like,
And
oh
it's
wait,
funny.
there's,
Yeah.
I
And you
got a
don't even realize it.
notification.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
That's how scary it is. Like, I don't even know I grabbed it and I'll be on even TikTok and be like, oh, when did I grab this? Right. It's just,
Right.
yeah, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So, um, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this is an idea I even had too. Like if you had a designated charging station in your house too, where you can only charge in that certain area. That way, if your phone is done for the night, like you want to charge it overnight, put it downstairs. That way, it's not in your room. You can't wake up
Right.
in the middle of the night and check it. That sort of
Sure.
thing. And even setting schedules. I know my sister. She has 4 kids. She has time limits on when they can use their tablets because she doesn't want them to be like, and
Right.
they're excited to use them.
For
So
sure.
she tries to make sure they're outside as much as they can.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't really shelter the kids from technology completely because it's such a big part of
Amen.
our lives, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I'd say having time limits on that, schedules on that, just to make sure. And I think a fun one too. And I've never done this, and I've seen in videos of people or photos, but people will do if they go to a restaurant, they'll put their phones in the middle. First one to grab it pays the bill, right? That's just
Yeah.
kind of one of
Yeah.
the things. Yeah. So there's various things, but I think it's going to come down to what your goals are, your expectations are. Make it realistic, be intentional, have accountability around it. So
Oh, those are all super great. And you said something, and then focus mode. I'm like, you said something that I wanted to mention, and then I couldn't remember what it was. But funny enough, it was focus mode. But I know on the announcement for iOS 16, focus mode is getting some really cool improvements that I was actually really impressed with Apple on, with like some really easy to use switching on the home screen between the
mhm.
different focus modes. And
Yeah,
I thought that was some really cool features that they announced.
Yeah, because it'll take over your phone completely. Like you can have, I can activate a work focus mode, and then all that'll be on my screen will just be the certain apps that I need to be there. Everything else will be gone, so that I can't go and open them. Right. So
Yeah.
I know another thing too, and this even works. I had a roommate who wanted some accountability around a certain situation, and he set so he couldn't download any certain apps without I knew the passcode, so he could download the apps for it. So
Oh, sure. Yeah.
it was that sort of thing too, that maybe having somebody else do that, that's the accountability in the place. If you really do want to get away from that sort of thing, having somebody else help you. So I think the biggest thing is that I think the reason we want these things is for mental health reasons, because well, safety for us, from keeping us safe from certain people and scenarios, but I just see it affecting so many of my friends, myself, and people, and the addiction is real, and we really don't need to be controlled by it. So these things are supposed to
Yeah.
help us, not us serve them, right?
Right.
Kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I say this a lot too is, parental controls aren't just for kids. Like you can set parental controls on
Hmm.
yourself and yeah, and have some sort of accountability partner that will help keep you, accountable. Cause I could just, go in and override my parental controls. But if I've
Yeah.
got somebody there that like has the password, that's going to
Yeah.
help me stick to that, a little bit
That's the hard
better.
part of being an adult. I think we just have so much
Right.
control over our own lives that, yeah, we forget
Yeah.
that we need help too, right? So
Yeah, for sure. So really good points. And yeah, you're talking about Apple's screen time. Android has the same kind of thing with digital well-being. That's something you can set for yourself. But if it's for kids, you can set up a Google Family Link. So they both have that kind of platform. So
mhm.
this actually segues really nicely into the next question I've got. And what are your thoughts on parental controls available for both platforms?
Yeah, honestly, it's funny. I never really put too much thought into what was available on both platforms. So I was doing some digging, trying to find even on YouTube videos, and everything that came up was you. So that was great. You're doing a
Well,
great
great.
job. No, I think the one thing is, from the looks of it, it's there. I think people are realizing the effect it's having on us as people. So I think we're slowly getting different things to come out and help us control what's happening as best we can. But I
For
think the
sure.
awareness of what's there is missing. So I didn't know what was
Yeah.
available until I watched your video, right? So that's what
Yeah.
you're serving your audience, which is great. So um, I think it'd be nice for these companies to make it more aware to people, like, oh, you can do this to help keep your kids safe, that
For
sort of
sure.
thing too. It's more of awareness. I think the things are there, and also I was watching your one about the Android, all the various apps you use for your Android to kind of keep tabs on things.
Oh, sure.
I think the one thing I would say is having too many apps can be a little too much for people to want to handle, and download and control, that kind of thing, right? So if
For sure.
if these companies come up with their own app that would be like, oh, you can do all these things in one, or certain apps specifically, that I think too much can be too overwhelming for some people, but
Absolutely.
making it
Yeah.
as simple as possible, yeah. So
Yeah, that's some questions I get asked a lot. Like, okay, you have all of these different apps. Like, what order am I supposed to install these on? And like, how do I set all this up? And like, which one's gonna do
yeah,
which part of it?
yeah.
Because there really isn't one like, holy grail app that can do everything.
Hmm.
And honestly, I don't think that will ever be a thing, um, just because of the different layers. Like, so I can see stuff that
Hmm.
happening on the Wi-Fi, or like I can control things from the Wi-Fi that I can't control like on the phone itself, and things like that. So
Yeah,
I don't know that we'll ever get a holy grail application like that, but
right.
it would sure be nice.
Well, that's why we have people like you to help us with that, right? So you have all the
Right.
answers. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Just been doing it for a really long time.
Yeah. No, it's good that you're figuring it out too, because I mean, like I said, every video came up as you, so it's nice that you have the time and the willpower to go and search for those things and care for people's safety, which is huge, right? So there's a lot of people who need that and don't realize that they can do that. So
Yeah, I mean, I think, and not to toot my own horn, but my big platform is like, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to scare parents and like try and say, hey, just take it all away and things like that. And that's not what I'm about. Like, I want to empower parents to be
yeah,
able to, give kids access to these really great tools. There's a lot of cool things that can happen with
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
And if you're just gonna like shelter them from it, it's,
Yeah,
not gonna
I
work
just
out.
with the way the world's moving, it's everything is becoming more and more technology driven. And as bad as
Yeah,
social media can be, it does have a lot of good benefits too, right? So we can't
for sure.
just throw them out because of the some of the cons too. Like, I mean, look at YouTube, but what we're able to do, right? Like that's the
Right.
social
Yeah.
media in itself, right? So to shut it
Yeah.
all out would shelter some really great creators from hopping on the platform, that kind of thing. So, and
Yeah.
career wise for the future, there's so many things that's going to be available to hold back kids from being able to kind of live their passions through what they can do online, is to me is more damaging than just hiding them from everything for their safety, right? So we have to learn how to live with it, but understand how to balance with it, right? So
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't have said it better. Um, well, so speaking of that, like future, what do you think is in store for the future on both platforms?
yeah, so I think honestly right now, I think we're at a plateau for smartphones in a lot of ways.
Right?
Yeah,
Like they
it's
just
like
keep getting faster and like
yeah,
that's about the best they can do.
I think you can see the fatigue in people, or even in companies too. Like
Yeah.
you can see Apple. I can see in their like newer events, like their focus now is more on health than it is even just on their technology, because I think everyone's getting to a point where
Yeah.
they're even Facebook now Meta, like they're getting
Right.
bored with what they're doing, right? It's like how much more can I do? So they're
Yeah.
kind of looking for new avenues to kind of experiment. But yeah, there's definitely a plateau. I think at this point it's hard to buy a bad phone. Even the
Right.
budget ones
Totally
run
agree.
extremely well. Camera
Yeah.
wise, like I am not a huge camera person. On smartphones, I could care less about the camera on the smartphone.
Yeah.
Some people are really picky. To me, they all look the same. Unless it really looks
Yeah,
bad, then you can tell the difference. But it's
for
hard.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see people are experimenting, like with Samsung having their folding phones now, the flip and the
Which I
fold.
tried and it was terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're still in the innovation series, right? So it's as
Yeah.
bad as those things are. It's always fun to watch. Okay, we're trying something different that hasn't been done before, and
Yeah.
as much as it's not great, it's fascinating that we can even do that. Because 10 years ago,
Right.
like, how the heck are you going to fold the screen without breaking it, right? So
Right. Yeah.
even like I know at CES they've had those Samsung had their roll up TVs, which is like the screen would just
Uh-huh.
roll up and then roll back out again too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I don't know how much too much you know about the phone and the new phones that come up. There's one that the creator that talked about called the Nothing phone, Nothing Phone One. So
Mhm.
a company called OnePlus. Have you heard of them before?
Yeah. 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 OnePlus.
Okay, so the creator who started OnePlus left and started his own company called Nothing, which is a hilarious
Okay.
name for it.
Right.
They just came out with a new phone that's going to be released soon. There's videos on YouTube about it. But what I love about what the phone is, we don't know much about specs or what it does, but the whole back of the phone is clear, so you can see
Okay.
the moving parts. It has some cool, like a design of LED layouts that kind of will do different things depending on what you're doing on the phone. There's one bar at the bottom that will light up as you're charging the phone. You can use the entire back of the phone as a fill light if you're filming. Like, it's
Wow.
they're taking what's already existing and not trying to make it new, but fresh in a way. So I think people are experimenting outside because there's only so much you can get a smartphone to do before it's a slab of a glass doing the same thing over and over
Right.
again. It's finding new ways
Right.
to make it fun. So
Yeah.
that's one. If I encourage you to check it out, it's really interesting.
Yeah. I
I
will have to
think
check that
people
out.
are really gonna like that. I'm not sure if it's gonna come to Canada or the US at all, but right now it's just fun to look at. I think it's nice to see people trying something that's different. But
Yeah.
um, I really hope Apple brings back the Touch ID on their phones. In screen would be
Oh,
great
sure.
too. I think one of my favorite things about Android is the in
They
screen
don't
thing.
have a touch ID?
Not in the new phones, no.
Oh, I mean, like, I think this is a 12, but like I don't use it like as my regular
No, it's
driver.
it's just it's just Face
So,
ID. Yeah, Apple is just strictly Face
wow.
ID. I would be I think
That's
eventually they'll
crazy.
bring it out underneath the screen, but they're very
Yeah.
much I think they're leaning on what they want Face ID to be. But
Yeah.
a lot of people are just like, no, we want Touch ID. We miss it, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing. If especially if it works so well on every other Android, it's like why not bring it back, right? But
Right. Yeah. I mean, I use it on my Samsung. Like
yeah, I use
see,
it on
like
my
there
OnePlus.
it
So
was right there.
yeah,
Like
mine's
there's
at
my
the bottom there
little
too, right? So
yeah.
it's
Yep.
perfect.
So yeah.
So yeah, seeing those improve, it'd be nice to see. I eventually will. I think right now the search position in your phone with your thumbprint. I was just expect that in the future you could put your finger on anywhere on the screen there, and it would unlock.
Yeah, that
Because
would
it'd be
be
more flat,
awesome.
right? So yeah, for
Well,
sure.
yeah, because you could just saw me. I was like,
Where is it? Yeah,
there it goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And then a camera's behind the screen. So I think, is it the Z Fold that has, or was
The Fold. Yeah, that
the
I
Fold
tried
has?
it. Yeah.
It's
Was
not
not good.
great. It's not good. No, no. But
But
again, the
it'll get
fact that,
there, right?
yeah, the fact that we can already do something that works kind of well like that is really cool. So because I think
Yeah.
everyone's gotten used to the notches on their phones.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to move away from that. And there's different innovations that I try. Like I know my OnePlus, I'll try to show you here on camera, but
Yeah.
like they put a selfie camera that comes out the top of the phone there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I've seen that before.
Oh no, yeah. So they do that. So it's fun, but
I love
the only worry
that.
with that too is like how long are these motors gonna last, that sort of thing too, right?
Right,
So
right. One more thing to break.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the worry about it. But it'd be nice to I say eventually we'll get away from the notches. I just think
Yeah.
I think we're trying to figure out a way to get around it. But it was nice. It was funny
Yeah.
because when Apple came out with their first notch, everyone made fun of it, and then everyone started doing it at the same time. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then another thing I suspect, and we saw with the Google Pixel. So Apple has their own chips they run in their phones, and that's one reason why
Right.
Apple phones are so easy to recommend, and even laptops these days too, because they make their own processors for the phones in the company itself. So everything works together as it should because it's made to work with Apple, right?
Right.
Google has just released the Google Pixel, which they have now done the same thing where they released their own processor, their own chip. They built themselves in the Google Pixel, and I see more companies doing that because of when it comes to efficiency in the phone. By them doing that, they can make it do what it needs to do and not have. They
Right.
can make it work best for the phone as best as it can. So I see a lot
Yeah.
more companies doing that, which is going to put a lot of pressure on things like Intel, all that sort of stuff too, because they're not going to be needed as much.
Yeah.
So
Qualcomm.
they're
Yeah.
going to have to try to figure out better ways of getting around that too. And then I think the last thing I'm really excited for too, and worried for. I mean, the way that VR and AR is going, but I
Oh,
do
sure.
see that augmented reality becoming a huge thing with phones.
Yeah.
And augmented reality is just having the I can look through the camera and have things like I can see real life, but have
Right.
digital content as well layered on top of that too, right? Almost like Iron
Yeah.
Man in a way.
Right, right.
But
So
I
you're
do,
buying furniture and you can like see it in the room,
yeah, I see that
before.
becoming a lot bigger,
It's-
even VR. I know Apple, I think, is working on their
Yeah.
own version of their smart glasses. Google's done the
Yeah.
Google Glass in the past, but
Right.
I do see that coming to the future, and that way you'd be able to use your phone more than just on your watch or on your or the phone itself, but in your glasses and every day too. So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see, but I do see that coming sooner than later too, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, from a tech support standpoint, I've been excited about that kind of stuff because I can, as a like higher level tech, I
Hmm.
can have a lower level tech go on site and guide them through something like, with VR, with, AR, where I can be like, oh, okay, you need to like take that cable and plug it over here and everything like that. Or
Yeah,
even just like helping out a customer, I can see what's going on in their area, and I can be like, oh, okay, this is what's broken.
yeah.
Um, so I think that is a way that things are going for sure.
Yeah, especially with Facebook now becoming Meta, that's their focus too,
Yeah.
right? It's just be creating,
Oh, for sure.
a metaverse or augmented reality, virtual reality. So that stuff is being worked on heavily, and I think again, it's gonna be one of those things that's going to be scary. Have you ever seen the movie Ready Player One?
I was just gonna ask you the
Yeah,
same exact thing. I'm like, it's like Ready Player One. Are we
yeah.
there yet? Like,
As fun as that is, it's scary at the same time. So I think it's
yeah,
going to be a shock for the world. It's just going to be learning how to navigate it too, right? I don't know how extreme we're going to get there, but I'm excited to see how
yeah.
it happens. But it's interesting. But I'm expecting it.
Yeah, I like it doesn't seem when I saw that I was like, that doesn't seem too far out in the future.
No,
That feels real close.
yeah, like next decade at least. I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that'll be crazy. So any other things you wanted to talk about about Android, iOS, anything?
I just be curious. How did your channel kind of about? What was your journey to? creating your
Oh,
channel?
sure. So, my journey's kind of funny. I've been in IT for 20 years. So, I've been an IT manager, supporting small businesses for a very long time. And it was kind of similar to what happened with you. My friends would always ask me questions and, hey, I think my computer has a virus or whatever, whatever, whatever. And so I finally was like, okay, I'm starting a blog. Like, so, because I started out blogging,
Mhm,
and so, I mean, my blog has been around since 2009.
mhm,
And so start out there, I'm like, I'll answer all your questions. It'll be on the blog, go check it out. So that's really how it started. And then just like the video content is, well, a lot easier for me to make, than like, typing it out, because then I have to like take pictures and like, and all
right,
the things. And, people just aren't reading as much anymore. They're, searching on YouTube. So,
fair.
yeah, so I've kind of recently pivoted. I used to only upload to YouTube, like, 'cause this channel has been around for a long time as well. But I used to only upload a video that would be embedded in my blog post. So there's like no description in the video or anything. It's just like explaining something that I've just written about in the
Mhm,
blog post. And so like my early videos are all just like, you know, no context. It's just like a video of like some piece of technology. And you're like, even is this? But like, it's just because it was embedded into a blog post.
right,
And
okay,
so,
I see what you mean, yeah.
so it's only like recently where I'm like, I think YouTube is where the future is. So I write less blog posts now and I do more video content.
Well, you
But
seem to be doing well with it, so that's really great to watch. But it's yeah, it's been a pleasure to even to be on your show. I when you reached out to me, I was super excited. My first time doing a collaboration, but I thought it'd be this is perfect. I'm looking forward to this. So I really
yeah.
appreciate your time. Yeah, it's been great.
But I saw I'm not frequently in. It was I think from the video creators, the Sean Cannell.
Yeah,
Um,
Think Media.
yeah. Think Media, like a Facebook group.
Yeah, the VRA.
I
Yeah.
saw you. I was like, oh, that one looks interesting, and I checked out your channel. I was like, oh my gosh, this channel is amazing. And so ever since then, I was like, I want to do something with that channel, in the future sometime. And then I figured I'm gonna do these lives every Friday, and so when I was looking for guests, I was like, oh, I definitely got to get him on.
Oh yeah. Well,
I
it's
know I can't get Kevin too, but
yeah. I could. I there are ways of doing that. It's very difficult.
yeah, I'm
But
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but so everybody definitely check out his channel. I've got it linked in the description. So definitely let's get him to 1,000 subscribers for sure. Because
appreciate it.
like it's such a great channel. Like, oh my gosh, you should be way more up there
It's
by
the
now.
journey,
So
you just gotta be
it is.
patient. That's all.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I started my channel like in 2009. So, like I think when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm like, oh look, I started a YouTube channel, and then 10 years later, bam, I'm at 1,000 subscribers. So
Yeah.
I
Everyone's journey is
totally get
different.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
So but you'll get there for sure because you've got awesome content.
I
So
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
awesome. Well, it was so good to talk to you, Blake. If anybody has questions for Blake or questions for me, definitely drop it in the comments. Subscribe to my channel if you aren't already a subscriber. Definitely subscribe to Blake's channel, and say hi to Kevin for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Blake. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.